And we're back.
We're back
on the road.
A little bit of a layoff.
In the car,
maybe this is
block.
season 2. Season 2. We took a couple weeks off, but our marketing department was essentially saying, gentlemen, get back in the car.
The people demand more.
The people demand more. So here we are.
So today we wanted to hit a popular topic, comes up all the time, and maybe look at it from a different angle. People always ask, how long is it going to take to sell my practice? And the reality is, we're not sure. The answer is has a wide range, anywhere from 3 months, 6 months, 18 months. What we do know is there are a couple of common factors that seem to come up all the time. And these are things that if you give yourself enough time, you can have some control over maybe the top 3 things that can affect the marketability of your practice.
Yeah, I think that's really when people say how long does it take, one of the factors is, well, how marketable is the practice? So today we're going to talk about 3 things that we think could have a negative impact on your practice's marketability or extend the time frame it takes to sell a practice.
The first one is, where are you located? When we talk to prospective buyers, this is probably the first question that attracts somebody to a listing or to find out if it's a potential fit for them. So if you're in a popular metro area, it might be pretty easy to find a lot of candidates who are interested in your practice. If you're a little bit further off the beaten trail, it could take longer. So again, consider where your practice is located, how popular of an area is that, and how much time might it take for somebody to want to move into that position to, kind of replace you there.
Yeah, I mean, where we're located, Philadelphia market, if you're within, the 4 counties outside of Philadelphia, a lot of demand. That sales cycle to find somebody might be much shorter. If you're 2 hours from Philadelphia or a major metropolitan area, you can't change your location, but what you can do is start the process earlier to give someone like us enough time to market the practice and really find the right buyer, because it likely will take longer in those situations.
The second most popular one is probably your lease situation. You want to touch base on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot. So if you don't own your real estate and you're leasing, really paying attention to your lease in the 5 years, in the 5-year run up to a practice sale, probably a couple key things. One is how much term is left on the lease, because a buyer is likely going to need at least 10 years. Now that could be through renewal options or extensions. So we love when leases have enough term on them. The second factor is really its assignability. Can you, as the current tenant, assign your lease to a new tenant? Assignment language will vary as what's in a lease. Ideally, you get to assign it with no input from the landlord. But secondary to that, you get to assign it with the landlord's approval, which they agree to not unreasonably withhold their consent. The last piece is your rate. So this is probably a bigger one. A lot of times doctors are in a location for 25, 30 years. They'll just sign their 5-year renewal and your rent goes up 3% or whatever it is. And they keep signing that and signing it. And then they find themselves, by the time they're ready to sell the practice, that they are substantially over market in their rent. And if you're over market by $10, $12 a square foot and there's 6 years left on your lease, that's going to be a problem in the practice's marketability, because your landlord has no incentive to negotiate a lower rate knowing they have you on the hook for multiple years.
And that's what I was going to say there is, when those renewal periods come up, don't just re-sign because your landlord is a nice guy. Take that as an opportunity to renegotiate. You can bring in a professional to help negotiate with your landlord to make sure that you're getting the same type of benefits that a new tenant would have if they moved into your space. Maybe that's a few months free rent, maybe that's some leasehold improvement allowance. There's a variety of different things that a professional who does this for a living can help you negotiate when those renewal terms come up, so that your practice is in a great position to be transferred to a new owner.
I also want to point out, most landlords are great guys when you're paying 25% over market.
Sure.
And they quickly turn out to be not great guys when you say you're ready to sell the practice and we realize that we're going to need some concessions to make the sale happen.
Let's get to the last one, which is a little bit tricky and sometimes is, it's a compliment in disguise, I guess is one way to look at it. Sometimes we get feedback that this practice is already great. there's nowhere left to run. What am I going to be able to do with this to make it better? And that could look a lot of different ways. Maybe you're maxed out in space, you can't add operatories. You're maxed out in the schedule and you can't add days. Or from a clinical perspective, you're really not referring much work out and you're keeping everything in-house. So even if your practice is running extremely well and efficient, new buyers still want to put their mark on it and they want to make it their own over time. So they are looking for areas of improvement. That's not to say do less, but that is a factor that people look at when considering your practice.
It's just a fact. It's just something to keep in mind when you think about how long will it take. And this is the double-edged sword of the too good practice. You know, doing $1.5 million and 4 operatories, placing implants, doing molar endo, and doing Invisalign. Buyers look at that and say, well, how do I make it better? I mean, this thing is fully optimized. So
right.
it can, it's crazy, really, to think about.
Counterintuitive,
yeah.
But it can certainly stretch out your timeline a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right, well, there's 3 good things that you can start thinking about that can have a direct impact on the marketability of your practice. If you give yourself enough time, you can have control over all 3 of those, and we'd be happy to help. So this is Joe, my driver. This is Kevin. And we'll see you next time around the block.
Thanks.